Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin. September 21st at around 9 a.m. 2017, and I'm on my way to work, and I thought I'd capture a few of the media consumption things I'm doing and on my mind. On the Audible front, which is just a delight with their good reader or good listen guarantee, where you can trade in old books that you got on your $15 a month subscription for new books, as long as you go through their customer support system. It's not like a super automatic easy thing, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I am going through the Hunger Games, and that's an interesting experience. Usually when stuff becomes mega popular in the media, if it really connects to my life in any meaningful way, I will delve into it and see what it's all about. That's what I did with Harry Potter when it hit the scene. I have not done it yet with, what is that medieval one that's all the rage? But you know what I'm talking about. It's the latest J.R. Tolkien ripoff that's had the book series and the movies. But instead of those, I'm doing the Hunger Games, and I'm up to the third book, Mockingjay. And I guess I'm reading these because Addie has been exposed to the character Katniss in the media and is asking me about her, and it's like, well, I know who she is, but I don't really know about her well. And then I realized this stuff probably fits strongly in the category of books I've been going out of my way to read to her and to expose her to, coming of age of young women books, most notably The Wizard of Oz, which we are still reading. That's one of the actual ones we read together. And Alice in Wonderland, which is still her favorite Audible to go to sleep to. It's such a familiar story. But in my mind, and I tried starting out this story with her, but she isn't quite ready for it yet. Diamond Age. Yeah, Neil Stephenson's Diamond Age is probably very much in this category. And Game of Thrones, that's what I was thinking of as the one that I'll get around to probably next. Addie is asking about that one as well, and while I'll never be exposing it to her because I know the violent and otherwise reputation that it has, I probably will be with Hunger Games. I'll probably do Hunger Games and then Diamond Age because of the language and situations involved. Addie's turning 7. And so I'm lining these types of things up. So that's what I'm doing in actual reading. That's what I'm doing in Audible. And in video format, definitely Rick and Morty. And just surfing the YouTubes, creating either watch later playlists for myself with intermittent sampling, or for Addie's education. And through that process, we discovered this YouTube animator and commenter named Jaden Animation. Highly recommended. Addie is loving it, and Jaden is going through one of these coming of age processes where, you know, she's a pretty reliable million view video person, loves it, naturally seems like she's quite introverted and finds her extroversion through the YouTubes, which I believe so many YouTubers really do, and appeals to Addie greatly. So we're sharing at least that in common in the video media channels. And Teen Titans Go and stuff like that. I just can't believe how that has become common for this generation. Obscure Marvel characters are as well known as Superman and Spider-Man were to me growing up. So these media companies really are doing some fantastic, I guess, training of the next generation for new characters belonging to their worlds. But the best thing on video in the past many years with Addie has been Gravity Falls. And here I have Journal 3, which apparently was on the New York Times bestseller, which is a compilation of a whole bunch of backstories and additional secrets of this already wonderfully engaging, immersive world of Gravity Falls, Oregon, written by a guy named Alex Hirsch, who is friends with a guy who did Rick and Morty. I'll have to remember. Well, a call came in right in the middle of that one. That is a vulnerability. I guess when I'm carrying around two phones, that will be a really good time to switch which one I receive my phone calls and text messages on, so when I'm shooting a video it won't interfere. That, I suppose, is one of the strong arguments these days for still a dedicated camera, video camera. Okay, so the creators of Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty have worked together to create a common world and planted bunches of Easter eggs in there to make sure there was no question that they were in a shared world, and have brought back Grunkle Stan's memories, which also assures us that Bill still exists, the criminal or the bad guy, the antagonist from Gravity Falls, who threatens or would be a threat even in the Rick and Morty verse. So what they're doing here is they're potentially drawing together these two worlds into this one grand story that either side could pick up, so long as they don't intrude on each other's, rights. So Disney, who owns Gravity Falls, and whoever owns Rick and Morty, I guess that's Cartoon Network, would have to agree on a shared world. And I guess with, Marvel, Disney getting back the rights to Spider-Man for guest appearances and his own movie under the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there is some precedent of those unexpected agreements being made for the mutual benefit of each company. So let's hope that happens between the Gravity Universe and the Rick and Morty verse. Although it is quite vexing to think of what paying advertiser would want to reach out to the crossover. Would that be a union, or would that be a inner join? Or shall I say an inner or an outer join? Would all of Rick and Morty's fans be interested in the guest appearance of Dipper and Mabel? And would the parents of the people who watch Dipper and Mabel be okay with the intrusion of such characters and subject matter as Rick and Morty brings to the picture? Would it be sanitized down to the Gravity Falls audience, or would it be soiled? This wholesome, really great show on every level that probably, I don't know, the extreme religious right crowd might not approve of Gravity Falls because of supernatural and witchcraft and all that. The same problems they had with Harry Potter, but all but the most hypocritical purists would probably look at a show like Gravity Falls and say that hits all the check marks of the kind of thing to both draw in children and spark their interest and invigorate their imaginations and put them down generally positive paths in life for seeing, positive relationships of many types expressed, inquisitive, activity, getting out into the real world and doing things, exploring, taking pleasure in the immersing yourself into the unknown. That looks like that's going to be a noisy way to walk. I'm going to go this way, changing my mind. And so that's how I position Gravity Falls to almost everyone who I talk to about it. There's virtually no downside to this show. Infuse some Rick and Morty into some crossover thing. It's got to be in comic book form. That's the audience that appreciates both aspects of these media properties, shall we say. The slightly more mature, or is that less mature audience of Rick and Morty, and the knowing quality and good story and pure fun and greatly still innocent audience of the Gravity Falls show. Comic book form, that would work quite well in. Okay, so why am I reading this? Well, I decided to get Addie a Halloween costume she's been asking for, which is Mabel, and one of the props that was suggested with it was this, so I'm like, oh yeah, totally, I'll order that. After watching, theories on YouTube's about these connections between worlds, where in the margins in code here, there's such things as Rick was here. Well, that certainly sparked Addie's interest, and now she's more interested in reading because of this thing than anything I've seen lately. And so not only reading is in our present together on both sides of, say, a phone call, which we do every night, but code breaking, which, let's face it, is the same thing, is also in our present or near future. So I'm going to focus on just the reading and potentially the writing. I got to figure out how to get writing exercises into the reading. But I'm going to focus on the reading of Ford's, let's see, that's Stanford. So there's Stanford and Stan Lee in the show. And so I'm going to focus on Stanford's writing, who's the author of the journal. Hope that's not a spoiler for anyone just getting involved in the series. Well, maybe I'll put spoiler alert in the description of the video. But it's also Dipper taking over the journal writing in the middle and making notes back onto the Ford entries with the new things that were learned as part of Mabel and Dipper's adventures. And of course, one of the things that ties it back together is kind of the conspiratorial, discussion with Addie over the fact that Mabel really is the main star and Dipper is the sidekick. And this is a coming of age story of a young woman, just like Alice and Dorothy. And, I hope the next chapter in this story comes out, because Bill Cipher is clearly still alive and clearly still a threat to the multiverse. And wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to play out in her growing up? I remember shows I was just dying for the next installation into the next episode, the next serial, the cliffhangers that keep drawing you on. And I think Addie should have that too, but at a quality level that I don't think really existed when I was a kid. The quality of things like Gravity Falls in particular, with, collateral products and merchandise like this, is on another level to anything I ever grew up with. I'd be hard-pressed to think of anything that was as developing of the brain, with such layers upon layers of codes to break and subplots and relationships between diverse and unlikely things. And the problem with some of these stories is plausibility and suspended disbelief and contrivances. if you don't want things to feel excessively forced, with Stanford pursuing the grand unified theory of weirdness is clearly setting the stage for, peeling away those layers of mystery that keep, states of the multiverse separate from each other. And then you enter a story, a media, property where it's set in an actual multiverse, where there's logic such as if something goes really wrong, you only have 4 or 5 redos in your ability to find a parallel dimension that's almost the same as your current one, but where the you is about to disappear and being replaced by you popping in would not even be morally objectionable. You wouldn't be killing the other you. You would just be stepping in to take over when the prior you had some freakish accident where the body was never recovered. So Rick and Morty has you dealing with concepts like that. True, multiverse, paradox stuff. Easily resolved because all paradoxes are resolved by saying it was another multiverse dimension. As opposed to Gravity Falls, where they've explored time travel pretty well with Brendan, something like that, a little time traveler dude who travels time with a tape measure, who's part of the time baby force that keeps the timeline uncorrupted. Common recurring theme in time travel movies, it would seem. But that is at odds with the multiverse theory. You don't really need continuity in the timeline. So there is the merging together of these 2 different universe theory views, with one nested inside of the other. All these, time travel, but not multiverse, lives firmly inside the multiverse. With all its, simultaneous parallel possibilities, where they say any universe you could imagine, no matter how ridiculous, if you can imagine it, exists somewhere in the multiverse merely by virtue of the fact that it's possible because you could have imagined it really exists. It's a terrifying thought, considering the diversity of capabilities and creativity and cruelty of humans. There's some pretty bad multiverses out there, and I tend to reject those theories solely on that basis. It offends my sensibilities. So these are discussions I'll be having with Addie as a result of all this stuff, and she's just turning 7. So there you have it. Take care of reading and writing and logic and code and storytelling and media savvy and purposeful consumption of media, so that you continue to code up your own brain in this meta process. Maybe I'll bring her the hallway to let her see that all this is just coding. She wants me to teach her programming, coding, just playing with Daddy. That's what's happening. Also with her mom. Credit where it's due, as a homeschool instructor. So, yep, prepare Addie for that future world where being able to comfortably deal with everything is an advantage. Start out in New York City, expose her to lots of interesting, diverse things, but then also slow down and go at a slow, non-scheduled, non-high pressure pace on things just for the pure fun. So that's an interesting video this morning. I'll have to edit the 2 pieces together. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.